Alright, today we're going to do a demonstration on how to mix up foundry sand. You will need to know how to do this. Everyone in here will have to mix up their own sand. After about 5 or so uses of the sand, what we have already starts to get pretty burnt out. It needs to either be reconditioned or replaced. So today this is going to be a really pretty simple demonstration. A foundry sand that we use is a 3-part mixture to make the sand. The first part is going to be a fine silica sand. We have to use the fine stuff. It gives us the best surface finish. If you use anything real coarse, like if you were to use like regular sandbox sand, you're going to get a really bad surface finish because it's going to be really bumpy. Okay, so the mixture goes every 10 pounds of, actually the original mixture goes every 100 pounds of silica sand to 5 pounds of the Petrobond mixture, which we talked about this. It's like the clay that'll hold the oil together to the sand, to every 2 pounds of, what I'm using is actually a 30 weight non-detergent motor oil, which is just fine to use in here. You don't want to use anything with a detergent in here. It can be bad to breathe that in. It's not really necessary. We're not cleaning engines or anything right now. So, obviously we don't have a 100-pound muller. Our muller is more capable of about 10 to 20 pounds. So we're going to be doing about 10-pound mixtures each time, starting out with 10 pounds of sand. So we're doing 10 pounds of sand to 0.5 pounds of the Petrobond mix to about 0.2 of the oil. Now, to make it easy for you guys, I have marked out these specific containers as to where you need to fill it so you don't have to measure it out each time. Or you don't have to weigh it out each time. So instead of doing a weight, we're just doing a volume. Okay, so we're going to have about 3 quarts of sand to make the 10 pounds. We're going to have about 10 ounces of the Petrobond mix for this to make the 0.5 pounds, and about 5 ounces of oil for that. Okay, now again, like we talked about in safety, it's very important that you wear a mask when you're pouring in the silica sand. This does contain free silica that can come back up, and it's very bad for you if you breathe it in. So when we pour this in, we wear a mask, make sure the mask is on. After it's mixed with the oil is no longer going to let anything come out. So when we're working with our regular foundry sand, it's okay if you're not wearing a mask for that. Okay. Now, the first step to do it is to mix just the silica sand and the Petrobond together. We do that for maybe 5 minutes or so just to get that mixed. After that is when we slowly add in the oil. Okay. So I'm going to put on my mask, and the first thing I'm going to do is add in the sand and the Petrobond. And before I do that, also know we have to add sand in from the top. If we want to remove sand though, we do it from the bottom. You need to make sure that this door is closed on the bottom here. If it's not, everything's just going to come pouring back out. So we add it from the top, but we never run the muller with the top off. You need to make sure it's not. You need to make sure that the top is on if it is running. These things can crush your hands. Okay? So we're going to mix in the silica sand first. Again, just pour it in. Try to avoid pouring it into the middle here. If you pour it into the middle, it's not really going to fall down where it needs to get compacted. Okay? So there's our silica sand. Okay? Also, you want to avoid going in here a bunch with your hands. It is turned off, but if someone were to come up, they could easily click this on. Okay? And then we are just going to pour in our Petrobond. This stuff will powder back up in your face, so don't dump it real fast. Okay? So dump it slowly inside. Again, mix it around, make sure it's all out. Now we are going to put our cover on. Okay, and we are simply going to turn it on and let this run for about 5 minutes. Alright, the sand muller's been running for about 5 minutes now. It's thoroughly mixed the sand and the Petrobond mixed together. So now, again, make sure it's turned off before you open it up. So we're going to open it up, we're going to look inside, and you can see that it's mixed together fairly well. Okay. Again, it doesn't need to run for too long just to mix together. If you were to leave clumps of Petrobond mix and put the oil in, there's a good chance it wouldn't mix together with the sand. Right? Now the last step is to add the oil in. For doing this, some of them do have special like oil squirters inside of them where you put the oil in and it will disperse it out. For this one, we're just going to be pouring the oil in, and we're going to let it run for at least 15 minutes to mull it completely over. Okay, so we're just going to drizzle the oil around the outside. Again, try to avoid getting it on anything up here. If you do, it's not actually going to mix in. It's just going to hang out up there. So we want to get all the oil in. And this thing does do a pretty good job of grabbing all the stuff and mixing it thoroughly. So if you do have some clumpy areas, don't worry, make sure all the oil's out. And again, after we open this up and it's mulled over, we'll determine whether or not it has mulled completely all the way or if we need to add more oil to it. Now again, after we're done with this, you really don't need to wear the mask because it'll be completely coated in oil that there won't be any free particles able to float up into the air that you can breathe in. Okay, so again, we're just gonna flip on our switch over on the side here, make sure this is closed, make sure the door on the bottom is closed. Okay, so we're gonna turn it on and we're gonna let it go for about 15 minutes and then we're gonna take a look and see if it's mixed completely. Okay. All right. We are back at the sand muller right now. It's been about 15-20 minutes since we had first started mixing this. We're gonna go ahead and turn it off, okay? We're gonna turn it off. And also, it's a good idea once you're actually doing this, make sure someone goes and unplugs the power. That way, if you reach your hand in, no one can grab it at all. You're gonna pull the top off and you can look inside here and see that the sand has been completely mulled, okay? Now, again, turn the power up before you go reaching inside of here. You don't want anyone to accidentally come and turn it on. Now, I will just test a sample of the sand. You can see that it's been coated completely with oil on the bottom here. And what you should be able to do is just do a squeeze test with the sand, squeeze it together, and if you want to break it, it should break pretty clean in half. You actually kind of feel it snap instead of just crumbling. So again, you just grab a good chunk of it, and it should kind of snap in half and break like that. If you try and do that and it just crumbles without doing a clean break, you probably need more oil. You need to run it longer. Again, the muller is going to pack the oil down into the sand. Also for this, I didn't go away from the mixture at all. I used exactly what it said to use, and I did the exact markings on there. Now this one turned out just fine. It's been going for about 20 minutes. Again, like I said, now what we have to do is we actually have to open up the trap door that is underneath here. As soon as I open this, the door will open with it. You see there was some loose sand stuck in there from before that it didn't quite reach. That'll all get mixed in. There's just a little bit. Okay, now in order to take the sand out, we put the top back on. We put the top back on and we actually turn the muller on. Do not attempt to take the sand out from the top, especially if it's plugged in. Okay, so what we do is we turn it on right here. We turn it on, and as it spins, it's just going to start spitting the sand out. Make sure you have a bucket or something underneath there to catch it all. Okay, this will remove about, I would say, 85 to 90% of the sand. If you need to clean any excess sand out of the top, make sure you turn the muller off. Okay, unplug it so there's no way it can turn on, and then you can go in there and use either a scraper or something to get it out, to break it loose. And then I would actually plug it back in, turn it back on, and let it kick the excess out. Now again, we made up about 10 pounds right now of sand. That should be perfect if every one or every two people are making more sand. We don't need every person making, 100 pound batch of it. I'm gonna go ahead and turn it off. We're just gonna take a look inside. Now again, you can see that's gotten most of the sand out. There's a little bit coated on the bottom, but it's pretty much empty. That can be taken out with a scraper. You can get it loose. You see these scrapers inside of here? Those are supposed to scrape all of that loose and get it out. The scrapers have been worn down a little bit, so they're not going to get everything, but they'll get a majority. So again, the next step would be to unplug this, break the rest of it loose, and then turn it back on to scrape it and get the rest out. And now this stuff is pretty much ready to use. I will mix it with some old sand, but pretty much we can go ahead and use this right now.